And with the immortal 8-bit battle cry, you know it's another episode of GI Joburg. This time, we're duking it out. My name is Steven. I'm joined by Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Bugforts!
For those of you listening to this podcast, Paul got his White Ranger Tiger Zord helmet.
Tiger Ranger.
Oh my goodness. The big reveal has finally happened. Off air, he was coming through really muffled. I was like, Paul, what's wrong with your audio? Because he kept his video dark. And so now we know. Paul, what's up, dude?
Oh, stuff, things. Fighting off
You
the forces
idiot.
of evil.
Yeah, exactly. Funny, I introduced Power Rangers to Elliot not too long ago, and whether you're 2 or 12, it has the same effect. You just want to go into the garden and beat the crap out of each other. His mother does not approve, by the way. But
no.
hey, man, he's got to toughen up somehow. He's got to be ready for that playground.
Dude.
And Power Rangers was our instructional video into martial arts. Anyway, we've got a third member up in here. It's not just the two of us crazies. Yeah, it's Rob. Hey, Rob.
Whoa, hey guys.
Welcome to the Madhouse.
Hello. Oh, Paul. Jason?
Exactly. I'm Tommy. I'm this
Tommy.
Oh, I knew it. Jason, yeah.
Jason was the Red Ranger.
Yeah.
I rewatched that. It was like a 3-parter. Introducing the Green Ranger and Tommy. Badass. I don't think I got to that part just yet. He hasn't summoned Dragonzord, but oh man, what a time of my life. Was it like that for you as well, Paul? Like, did you watch an episode of Power Rangers and then immediately like go outside onto the street and like look for other kids to beat up?
No, but I always had David with me. So what would inevitably happen is David and I would start getting all like kung fu on each other.
Ah, yes, of course.
That legit happened. Damn, and also I just want to put this out there, like, because you guys know, obviously, with Power Rangers, all the fight scenes are from the original Super Sentai Kyo Ranger or Kyuju Ranger, whatever. So that would be the stuff that we would watch. We wouldn't care, Bulk and Skull, whatever. Like whenever like they were like, "Hey, Jason," I'd be like, "Okay, Dave, you want Coke? Yeah, go me some Coke. Go and get some Coke, make some cereal, whatever."
Listen to those weirdos.
And then David would be like, hurry up, fight scene. And like,
we never realized it at the time, but yeah, absolutely. It was totally different locations shot in Japan, right? That's why the foliage all looked a bit different. There was a bit more grain. It was, the film stock was grain. I don't. Were they using film? Or was it just tape? Anyway, the Japanese stuff looked distinctly different. Anything with Rita Repulsa, the monsters, the fights, it was all different.
What I definitely know is we are from South America.
Super South America.
We are the South American contingent of GI Joe. Absolutely love it. Paul's favorite figure is Marujo.
Marujo is one of my favorites, definitely.
Absolutely. Welcome to everyone who's joined us live on Sunday. Or Saturday.
GI Joburg is a weekly affair, but every other week we are live for the public. Ooh. So if you are lurking around YouTube or Facebook on, I think it's a Sunday afternoon in the States, it's Monday morning down under, hang out with us, chat live and give your opinions, because we're getting pretty opinionated on this episode. In the chats already, we've got Hans Chow, Mark Van Leeuwen, Spoon Killer, Tim Wild, Chris Frommy, Moonlight 47, Master Sun 42, Brick Fiction, Agent Chuckles, Ronnie Trickshot, g'day mate, and yeah, that'll be it for now. The number grows as we move into the more interesting stuff. So I am gonna add a spoiler warning for everyone hanging out with us live.
Yeah.
We are going to talk Duke number 1 and Cobra Commander number 1 in this episode quite extensively. So if you are a fan of the comic books and you, for some reason, have not read these debut issues yet, I would suggest maybe...
not read these yet?
Well, if you've been living under a rock, maybe you've been able to avoid being spoiled on particularly Cobra Commander and the kind of rug out from under you resetting of the character that is. Or yeah, it is a resetting. So
Wow.
Very much so.
we're gonna backload that in this episode. We're only gonna address that right at the end. So those of you who listen to this in the future and you don't want to be spoiled, we'll tell you when to stop listening because there won't be anything other than Cobra Commander spoilers from that point onwards. But if you're watching live and you want to stay with us and you don't want to be spoiled, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna be. So
We'll get
in
you
order
hyped
for
to
us
actually
to
buy the issue.
there you go. Yeah, support this new initiative if you feel it's worth supporting. Though it does seem like it's doing okay. I'm wondering when the steam that it's developed will ebb, or maybe it being this shared Energon universe, it's being propelled by its newness. It's being propelled by having the Transformers in the mix. So it's just this juggernaut that's going to gather momentum. Either way, we've got at least 3 new GI Joe titles every single month, which when have we ever had it this good?
Cool.
Right? No, but it's
Not in
that's the
our
thing. We got
not
so
in
much
our
cool stuff.
lifetime that we could get stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
I mean, the last time was when like Devil's Due and stuff was doing books. I mean, they were doing, I think it was 2 or 3 books a month as well. At one stage, it was GI Joe Frontline, then it was GI Joe: The Origins. Like those were like pretty good times as well, especially when they were doing all those peripheral books. But yeah, we haven't had it this good in a long time, guys. And it's good quality reading as well. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun too much, but so far it's been, yeah. Spoon Killer's asking, so was Duke with it, Paul? Oh, we're gonna get into it, dude. We are going to duke it out. We're gonna duke it out. And just a few shout outs to guys here. I mean, I see Moonlight 47. Hey, my dude. He says, hey guys, pretty big day for Joe's for me. I will be getting my second FSS figure in a few hours. Sub figures are very rare here. Dude, preach. There were more and prices were okay, but I have to hold back for now. Super cool. I did
Who you
see
getting?
on your... Yeah, I'm actually very curious because I saw on your Insta you got a Blizzard, which is pretty rad. And you were posing it with your snow job, your 50th snow job, and
Very
I happened
appropriate for this weather in the in the north.
Well, I've got the...
Maybe if you're not in Hong Kong though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. But 50th Snow Job is amongst one of my absolute favorite modern era Joes. I think he's so good. Oh, when I say 50th, I mean more the Pursuit of Cobra.
Pursuit of Cobra.
Yeah. But so good. And then just
what are the parts used on figure subscription service Blizzard, Paul? Are the parts more or less the same as the Snow Job?
It's just a different head. Actually, they just switched it out with a different head, and I think they tried to do something interesting with the backpack. But it's just cool because the helmet is nicely done. I thought it was nicely done.
Didn't the FSS just do like recasts with a changed back plug? I remember. I mean, they did Stalker's kayak quite faithfully.
There we go. It was the cancelled Arctic Duke.
Oh, there we go.
Take that for what it is. Yeah.
I can't even remember that.
But that's the Arctic Duke that's the Duke that came with the snowboard, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I remember you could get it on the bay at one stage. Sorry, Rob, go for it, my man.
No. I was just going to say it may not be snowing in Singapore, but it's apparently snowing wherever Master Sun is. He couldn't even get to his comic book shop this week.
What the heck, bro? That's insane.
You know?
Yeah, you needed a polar battle bear.
But yeah, definitely catch us on the rerun once you've read the issue. If you do want to step out by the time we start discussing.
Well, I enjoy that kind of discipline because I mean sometimes when I'm listening to my favorite podcasts and they say they're going to get into spoilers, I'm like, it's okay. I'll be spoiled on this movie or whatever because I just want to keep listening.
Hey, Darren.
And Darren's joined the chats. Welcome to another Aussie Kiwi GI Joe Customs and Collection. That's
New Zealanders representing. Love it.
There you go. It's Campbell and Steve's joined us. Nice. Yo, Joe Burgers, indeed. Rob,
Steven,
why don't you break the ice? We're going to switch things up because, as I say, we want to end up with Cobra Commander issue 1.
We definitely want to.
Let's talk about some new toys, and Rob can lead the charge this time.
With new shit.
a rarity.
Who is this?
It,
Who is this? This is Phantom.
that's
It's
a new
Phantom.
thing.
Sorry, guys.
Paul-
Phantom is just like.
Pull the cat out of his ass.
This is welcome to the podcast, my boy. Yeah. Okay. I'll put you down.
Phantom is a cat of few words.
Yes.
Apparently, very, very surprised.
Anyway, yeah, Rob, show us your
Worry,
new stuff
worry.
because I also got something new and GI Joe-ish to show off as well. But I want you to go
Oh,
first.
hell yeah. Well, as our new intro, I mean, if you're on the YouTubes or wherever you can see it, our new intro does include footage from when I did receive a gigantic and absolutely huge box from Paul, which was all from a fantastic man named Tim Wild. We've spoken to him before. He's in the chats right now, wherever the chats are. I think they're over here or down there, depending on where you're doing your shit. And he decided to send me basically all of his classified figures, and they are very awesome. One that has been revealed.
Hey, what's up, Sean?
Yeah, hey Sean, what's up? Join us.
Guys?
Look at my third Lady J figure.
Guys, this is actually really, really cool, and I do want to point this out.
Tell
So
me.
what's up, Sean? So
Ooh, Qatar.
Yeah, man, this-
Welcome, dude.
guys, you've heard about that awesome haul of GI Joes I got a couple of years back. It had 84
did.
Storm Shadow, 85 Snake Eyes, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Sean is the dude I got it from,
Hey.
and it's so cool to see you here, my dude. So
Well,
super rad.
He was
Yeah.
selling up before heading off to Doha, to Qatar.
So
Yeah. And now he's listening in
man.
from that Gulf location. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm going
Sorry,
to point
Rob.
out that in the chats for the very first time, we've got my buddy Ryan Flynn. Hey, Ryan. Ryan
Hey.
was the voice of Skymate. It is with some irony that I'm staying in Australia, and yet the
that is
voiceover
very
choice.
ironic.
Yeah, the voice chores for an Aussie character was given to a South African, but hey, that's just how I roll.
That
And
is
he did
how
a
you
bloody good job, if I do say so myself. So,
I
shout
would
outs
never
to
have
you,
known
Ryan.
that he wasn't Australian. Like you've just ruined that entire play motion for me now. Not a real Australian.
Ryan, I gotta get you to do a commentary
Right.
track for that episode at some stage.
yeah,
I
you
wanted
guys
to
gotta
do it
put
while
it
we
down.
were in person, but yeah.
That didn't work
the
out.
time didn't align. Well, we were hanging out at a braai together, a barbecue, if you will.
Well,
and
barbecue.
I,
taking a moment.
I wanted to like pull him into a private room. There were five
Exciting.
children rampaging around. There wasn't a
Yeah.
quiet corner in that
That's
place.
what the wives are for. Take care
Yeah.
of the kids. Isn't that how it works? I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know how child rearing works.
So Rob, how much do
Toys.
you love that Lady J, bro?
Lady J is absolutely amazing.
So good. Love that
absolutely-
figure.
The first
Yeah,
one
you-
I popped out. She's absolutely incredible.
Oh, man,
yeah,
it's
definitely she
beautiful.
has to keep the cap on. I love her the best.
Oh, you
with
like
cap.
it with the hat? Okay, I like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
without the
I
hat
think-
personally. But like, that's a
Oh.
cool thing, right? You can do
Oh.
either. So
Yeah, you can do it the right way. You can do it the way Paul's doing it. So I'm just going to reveal a couple of the things this time, and so I don't take up the entire episode. So again, but this time sealed. I'll probably keep it sealed. Is Snake Eyes #2 from the old classified series.
yeah,
Very,
the
very
first
cool
one.
figure.
Cool
Definitely,
accessories,
I've had-
actually.
The
Well,
most expensive
sword.
one so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be nice to have like a sealed one because I'm definitely taking them all out except this one.
He's gonna take it all out today.
The one that kind of led the charge for all the classifieds, heavy duty. I mean, roadblock. Yeah,
It is heavy duty.
it is heavy duty. Yeah. No, it's roadblock. But anyway, very cool figure. I mean, obviously one of the earlier ones. He's kind of sporting his more like Fortnite look, which actually, I mean, as I'm kind of like looking at them now, and I really don't mind actually. Seeing them in person, it doesn't look as bad as like from all the pictures I've seen. And
The
yeah,
figure is
yeah.
great. Their weapon is crap.
Yeah, we'll find out together, won't we?
I actually really love the tattoo on his left arm. Like, I know a lot of
Oh.
people think it's like cringe and whatever, but I love that he's got like a lion. Hey,
Okay, I'm gonna have to take him out.
roadblock. Hey, it's got a lion.
And one more to show off this time is non-Pimp Daddy Destro. So the original version of Destro is popping
Beautiful
up. Right?
artwork on that box.
Absolutely gorgeous. But I don't think there might be one or two, I think, where they kind of like get the art wrong, or the art looks like what have you done? But definitely the earlier figures all have absolutely amazing art. So
I
those
just
are
don't
figures.
say when.
But an absolutely amazing thing that Tim got me, which is something I've been meaning. Like every now and then, I look on this website and I'm like, oh, I need to buy that now. I need to get that now, and I keep not pulling the trigger. And I'm actually very glad I didn't pull the trigger, because that would have been a waste of money to get this book twice. But I now own the GI Joe role playing game core rulebook, which I am super duper excited for. I'm very excited to kind of like dive into this and see what it's all about. I've started reading it. I'm kind of like a little bit of the way through. I'm still making my way through character creation and looking at like types of characters you can create. But already I can see a way of making Scoop, which is kind of cool. The system is varied enough that it allows you to kind of create, I think, almost any character. And the fact that I feel I can create Scoop as a character to play means that the system is pretty deep the way it is. So I'm very excited. I think probably the thing about this is just most different from, say, D&D is vehicles. You do get to ride.
I thought it was like no dragons, but no.
Oh, God. You can probably add dragons. I mean, like GI Joe can be very like weird. If we're playing the cartoon version, we can definitely have dragons in here. So I'm very excited to kind of like figure out how vehicle combat works.
Hang on, there's a cartoon version?
Well, not a cartoon version, but you can kind of play it that way if you wanted to. I feel like the system can be played realistically. You can play cartoon-wise. You can play it comic-wise, or however wise you want to play.
Fireman jump, bro.
So I'm very excited to kind of like get into this sometime this year. So
Birdverse style.
Watch the space.
Fireman jump and inside's tea.
Watch the space. So that's a taster of some of the amazing stuff that Tim sent me. Over the moon about. Yeah.
Dude,
I don't find toys myself much anymore. Because I'm always overwhelmed by like shipping and like how do you get the stuff here. And thankfully, Paul and Steven seem to know enough about this stuff, and everyone else who supports this seems to know enough about sending toys across the world that I don't have to think about it. So.
Yeah. Big thanks to Tim. Cheers, brother.
Absolutely. He made he made the beginning of the year so much better.
He hatched this plot like a year and a half ago.
Oh yeah.
And it's taken various stages to get to that point. But yeah, eventually, Rob, you get some new toys to talk about. Exactly.
Here we are. The delayed gratification is the best, isn't it?
2023 was one hell of a Christmas. Yes, Paul.
On topic of classified, just to jump in on Rob's awesomeness there as well.
Please do.
With my White Tiger Ranger helmet, I got Firefly classified. Look at this beautiful guy. Yeah, he's actually really, really, really amazing.
Now that is a Fortnite figure.
Yeah, it's the night vision goggles. But
right.
Dude, this guy is great. He's really great. He's Firefly. I mean, look at this backpack. This is such a beautiful homage to the original, with all the things that make it modern. And I dig it. And yes, he's got a little RC car that's hanging there at the back to deliver like bombs, or, to be a little bomb. It's got these little mines are removable. I'm not going to try and do it now on camera because I'll lose one certainly. And yeah, look at his gun. His gun's also a great shout out to the vintage. I just haven't got the. No,
that's Beachhead's gun. That is Beachhead's gun. That's the Wasp.
Yeah, but when you put on one of these, hold on. Listen, it should. I would have preferred if it was the grease gun, but beggars can't be choosers. I just want to put on this. Damn it.
But nice that they modeled it after an original GI Joe weapon, because sometimes when the classified sort of accessory design team go a little bit off-piste, we get break action shotguns that have a pump as well and shit like that. At least this is a real weapon. I think it was used in law enforcement in the United States in like the 70s. I don't know. I think I watched the Forgotten Weapons YouTube video on it fascinating. But like, yeah, it was a very limited production weapon. So the fact that they worked it into Beachhead's like arsenal, I mean, that's some deep cut stuff. GI Joe
it
team
is.
in the 80s were just like pulling from everywhere. All the
Just-
bleeding
Yeah, so-
edge tech.
all over the place.
So I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that, because that shows you how good a job of brainwashing us they have done over the years. Because actually, somebody just mentioned here, Moonlight says, reminds me of how some 25th Fireflies have the same gun from Beachhead. And that's actually true. That's why I made that reference. That's why I made that connection. Because I'm being dumb, because the originals actually got the grease gun. Yes.
They share a
Favorite
lot
reason
more than the
from-
guns. I mean, like 25th anniversary definitely used the balaclava as just a jumping point for like, yeah, we can make these guys virtually the same. Beachhead and Firefly were in parity for many years on that line.
Evil.
Yeah, no, for
it's
sure.
evil Sam Fisher. If there's only one thing I have, I lament in English. There's one thing I lament about this figure is that these grenades are not removable. The grenades and the smoke bombs. I feel
Paul,
like
you were just saying that like you're gonna lose the mines if you pop them off. Do you really need
but-
the stress of loose grenades on your figure? It's not even
Yeah,
on the
I do.
accessory.
I
It's
like
on
using
the secondary.
For
very
photography
fun.
reasons, man. I mean, they give you this little like RC controller over here for the little vehicle, for the little bomb delivery vehicle, and it's like, yeah, but you haven't got any way to store that. So at least the bombs and stuff have like a place to live. I think that would have been a nice touch. I mean, that's literally my only like serious criticism of this. Otherwise, I actually think this figure is golden. And this was also one of those purchases where I was kind of like, and then I got it in hand, and I was like, wow, But anyway,
Boring.
enough about classified toys. I think we've spoken about the toys enough. I think we have to get
Well,
into
before
that
we
dude
move
comic.
too far away from the RPG, Hunt had a question
Uh-oh.
for me. Does the RPG system facilitate using figures? I think any RPG system can facilitate using figures. I mean, it just depends on how you choose to play an RPG session. I mean, a lot of people use minifigures. They put down maps. They create little dios, like little spaces and stuff that you can actually move the figures around and completely visualize the 3D space in which you can play the things. Or it's all just in your head. I think it's really up to the person running the game, how he and how the group want to kind of like play the RPG sessions.
So
I
Rob,
think
when
you-
we're playing the game, are you gonna like have the figures set up for us?
I
With
guess
some
I'd have
books and
to.
stuff.
We don't
Yeah.
know. We
To
let's
just
create like a
do
whole
the
thing
note
and
cover
kind of,
and
like
whatever.
zoom in. Well, we can make this a whole like very interesting.
I would
production.
love that.
Like
I think that would be so much fun. I think for the
RPG
for our
play motion.
listeners and viewers
Yeah.
and us.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we brainstorm this as we go along right now. Okay.
We'll be
Well, I
figuring
guess
it
we're
out.
going to have to
Real
do it that
time.
way now that we've said it. It's going to be a lot less boring than just staring at us three people, like being like, oh, and then Scoop goes around the corner and he does a thing. Okay, guys, can you imagine him going around the corner? Ooh, very sharp
I'm just-
corner.
when I'm just thinking-
that Cobra, I'm gonna hug him and squeeze him. That's what
Yeah, but if you want to go cartoon, Rob, you mentioned dragons. I mean, I don't know if you have any toy dragons lurking around.
Not yet.
I have a
guess.
toy dragon.
He has a toy dragon. That's good.
I mean,
enough for me.
there's always a dragon substitute. I mean, we don't have to go much further than.
Paul
But yeah,
has many a dinosaur
as
lurking
Tim-
around his
Tim just
house.
mentioned, they do sell miniatures for the game, but they're really expensive. Yeah, we probably won't
Pull
go
on
that
that sword.
route. I mean, that's the thing. We have representations of these characters as action figures. I mean, those are
Yeah, we
good
have
as
had
or
for
even
like a very
better
long time.
than having
And the
them
vehicles,
sell
man! We
us.
got the vehicles!
And we have the vehicles. And that's better than them selling us the same characters again, but completely unposable. I think probably a play motion RPG would be kind of the direction that we would move in, rather than using, like the traditional little like minifigures.
Are you suggesting we do a playmation based on our role-playing session?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely
That
the
sounds-
direction we're moving in.
Just live
actually
stream
like
it.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Camera in the action.
Decisions that happen, we just roll the dice and it's like, okay, that does happen. Yeah, why not? we've tried this before when we've done like choose your own adventure stuff.
We have
but
done
this would
stuff
be
like that.
proper, like intense choose your own adventure stuff, like
Yeah,
role
with
play.
dice. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but RPG games require two other important factors: booze and
True.
chicks.
Yeah, that's how
I don't know what
Isn't there
RPGs
always
you've
one
been
girl?
playing.
Isn't there always one girl at the party, and everyone's
is.
trying to, I don't know, ship her?
Impress her with their like role playing abilities, or trying to like get her into the whole thing. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. These days, it's
Well,
completely
without
different. Yeah.
sounding like complete chauvinists, I mean, 'cause it's ridiculous every time a girl comes to play an RPG. No, I'm sure there are hardcore, like dedicated RPG
Very much
females
so,
out
yeah.
there.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
However,
Yeah.
in any situation where I've seen it, it's always a case of like she's somebody's girlfriend and she doesn't know what she's doing, and everyone's trying to give her, a soft tutorial, and that kind of bogs things down a bit. So yeah, I guess that's me handing in my chauvinist card, but it's an important
It was
X
that's history.
factor.
That's how it was. That's how it
Part of
was
the-
when we were
X
younger.
factor.
I now at the Nexus, it's so cool because they do these role playing evenings, and you just get a whole bunch of peeps coming in, and it's all kinds of humans, and they come in and they go and play D&D or whatever's upstairs, and it's great, like, and it's cool to see. And there's a lot more women in this hobby than there was when I was younger, or should I say, there's a lot more women visible in this hobby than there was when I was younger.
I'm sure tons
you know?
of people. I mean, that's the thing. It's just role play whatever you want.
Hey,
anyone
Jimmy.
can role play. So there you go, Stephen.
Oh, I
have you
think
got
this is directed at
anything new?
Steven.
Yeah.
Agent Chuckles is like, I thought Ryan Reynolds was guest starring. And lol. I think he means you, big boy.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds, Keanu Reeves, and
Rob,
Rob.
the man.
The love and scoopful.
The loving scoopful.
So, Stephen,
Oh.
before we move on, do you have anything new? Did you discover anything new on your way home? What's new with you?
I mean, on my way back to Australia, we stopped over and spent 3 nights in Singapore with Kim's
Oh.
folks. Went to my old haunts and saw, well, I wouldn't say every classified figure, but certainly a wide selection of them. And I just, once again, when faced with them in hand, I'm like, it's just not my jam, guys.
They're too
I'm past
big
it.
for you, Stephen.
They
you
are.
like your small ones,
Well, there's some magic to being able to put your favorite figure in your pocket. And 6-inch GI Joes just
Get bigger
exceed that. Get bigger, damn it. Just grow a
All
little bit.
6 inches of show there, bro. So.
Yeah, and talking to Ben Flying Retro, good old Ben from Talking Joe, shoutouts to you, buddy. Listen to this in the future, no doubt. I think he hit the nail on the head very squarely by saying a 3 3/4 inch figure is a toy, and a 6-inch figure is a adult collectable. You pose it around on your desk, you make it look cool, but like, are you
Take
going to take it
photos
out
of
into the
it.
garden? Look, yes, exactly. It has absolutely been an asset to us old boys who, like, our way of playing is really just putting accessories in their hands and taking cool pictures. But look, as those words come out of my mouth, I was looking at Jason from Order of Battle Pod. His son has their classified figures out in the snow with the classified his tank. So it is what you make of it. Clearly, these things are
Yeah.
adult
Yeah, for sure.
collectibles to us, but in the hands of kids, they are still very much toys. So
Still toys. But
Hans
yeah,
asked- yeah. No, sorry, dude. Hans was asking, "Hey, Steve, were the higher toys there? Did you like them? If you saw, did you like them if you saw them?"
I did
Yeah,
not
dude,
see them.
Did you see any higher toys?
Negatory.
I've seen this
They
one.
weren't even for order on the websites, which strike me as very odd, because if it's an Asia specific distribution, then Singapore should be a massive hub for them. But I'm thinking higher are mainly located in China and Hong Kong. Though they're more or less the same thing nowadays, let's be real. I don't know.
Don't tell
I don't know
that to the
why. Like
Cantonese.
Robo, as I say, didn't have it on the website, and the other toy stores that I went to in Havelock 2, if you are in Singapore, Toy Realm, etc. Nothing. But maybe if I search for it using Carousel, which is their analog to eBay, but just domestic Singapore only, so it's very cool. You never pay for shipping. You always meet up in person and do cash on delivery.
Or you can fight
Because
for
it's
it.
so safe. You take a wad of cash and like just hand it over to the seller. He hands you the toy. No one's gonna rob you.
Sorry.
Right. Whoever wins gets the cash and the toy.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes, of course. Ryan slams in with some great news, of course. Like, the third-party O-ring stuff has started to trickle in. Delta 17, Longbow, Super 7, Operation Recall, and others, heavy armor toys, all of that stuff is starting to show up. People are getting them in hand. The early word on Strikeforce Alpha, for instance, this comes to us from Audible Interlude podcast. Dave says that, yeah, of course they don't feel the same in hand to Vintage Joe, but he just has a very high bar. He doesn't display any kind of other lines with his vintage O-rings, not even the retro Hasbro stuff, because they just I would be the same way. He's OCD about like them just not meshing well, just feeling a little bit off. But as toys in their own right, and certainly propelling the hay fever, propelling the modern retro wave, like this is a great time to be around and to get new O-ring stuff. Long way of saying they're good, so get your hands on them.
Oh, there you go.
Bless you, Steve.
Go get them.
Thank you. It's
Oh,
early
right.
and my nose is waking up.
No.
Guys, should we talk about some paper? I know we're a toy podcast, but every once in a while, make it rain.
Get into it. Let's get into it.
Yes.
Also, let's just admire one of the greatest GI Joe figures ever created.
Yes. Wow.
Any reason in particular why you're holding up Ninja Force Zartan, Paul?
Oh, because it's just like badass, man.
Is the good figure behind him? Is
good figures behind you, bro. No, man. I've just been having so much fun with the Ninja Force Zartan lately on my desk. We've been going on adventures. There's been some like excitement with me drawing this character and stuff like that for myself. And also that Legends of the Hidden Force has got me very excited for Ninja Force GI Joes. And just like, how can I bring them into my world? So just on the topic of like O-ring GI Joes, just wanted to kind of mention, or O-ring GI Joe likes. I wanted to just mention the Legends of the Hidden Force, which are looking super exciting. And had to just talk about Zartan, because that's kind of what I've been messing with on my desk. So
Nice.
And also this guy, but I don't want to like go and make him sound like he's the best figure in the world ever.
Who's that guy?
This is Major Blood version, what, 3? 3? Technically it's 3.
Battle Core
it's
Major
late.
Blood.
No, late
Very
90s Major
cool.
Blood with his cool like elbow pole thing, which I love. It's like, I don't know if it's meant to be a stabby thing or a RoboCop situation. It's just really bad. Wrong arm.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, error parallax. Anyway, I like to keep it open like this in case I accidentally like grab the arm and then bend it and then break it off. So I keep the arm bended so I always see the thing. Anyway, carrying on.
I like
Sorry,
to
man.
keep the arm bended. All right,
Bended.
guys.
I like to keep it bended.
It's been out for a while now. In fact, issue 2 is probably like gonna come out, I don't know, a week from now. But Duke issue 1, Paul's read it at long last.
Oh,
Rob
Like
and I,
a week ago, bro.
Rob and I read it the week of
Hi,
release
Laura.
in the flesh. I mean, when was the last time anyone sat with their best friend and read a comic book together? After about 6 pints of lager as well.
ooh.
Way.
Well,
But,
for starters, I don't let anybody touch my comics. Just
Boo.
putting that out there.
Do you read with gloves on, Paul?
No, I just touch the edges of the pages and don't let my fingers touch the heavily inked spots on the pages. Yeah, like what Rob's doing, but actually better.
You're gonna be horrified at me then. I read comic books on my beach holidays. Saltwater be damned.
Ooh, on the beach.
Sand.
It's your
Ooh.
money, bro.
sand is
whipped.
coming out of the comic.
But since you weren't with us, Paul, your opinion is perhaps the most mysterious. Are we saving that to last?
I kind of actually, because you guys are going to be talking amongst yourselves, I feel like let me try to dunk my opinion quickly on this.
Let's all of us get in there. Yeah. Paul.
Yeah. So, dude, I actually really enjoy this because I kind of feel like it's Renegades for grown-ups. So far, that's the feeling I'm getting. Because we've been covering the Renegades animated series, and it has some high points for sure. And I feel like this comic kind of takes a lot of those great concepts and sort of they sort of coalesce and they come together in this book, which I really dig. I love that Duke is up against the system. I think this is a very clever direction because that's kind of where things are at the moment with modern day thrillers, and I am enjoying that. I am a little concerned that Duke is apparently just so great at everything. But then again, that's kind of what makes him a GI Joe. That kind of
a man of action.
Yeah, he's a man of action. So
since when has that not been Duke's thing? As being GI Joe's Captain America.
Yeah, it's weird because on one hand, I love it. On one hand, because I kind of like that it gives the book a bit of a Captain America-esque kind of quality. I'm just adapting to that because I've always just enjoyed the GI Joes as being human beings. That makes sense. And guys, we're not saying that Duke is super powered or that he has super soldier serum or anything.
No.
It's just he does have the luck of the gods, and there's just that. And I enjoy the tone of this book so far.
I think it also they're setting it up. At the start they set him up as this super soldier. Like he is the epitome of what a good soldier is. He gets shit done. He's very capable, but something happens to him that just kind of completely destroys his worldview. It shifts what he believed was the best a person could be. And it just kind of puts him in a place where he's like, I don't know what to do anymore. I saw something. I experienced something that is completely out of my realm of understanding, which actually happens because this is an Energon Universe book. The event does occur in, I think, issue 1 or issue 2 of Transformers, the new Skybound series, and they kind of do a little flashback bit in here where they kind of show he has an encounter with
so that's the link. Okay.
Yes. So that scene where you kind of see him kind of going up against Starscream, that is actually something that happens in Transformers, where the military sends a jet out. They're like, okay, something's going down, and then this is the encounter that he has. And this obviously just sends him in a way that into a place where he's he doesn't know what to think anymore. This jet transformed, and it killed brutally. Killed my co-pilot or the pilot of the aircraft.
And can I just say, how beautifully done the pages are, the artwork and just the sort of layout and the style of things. It's got such a cool, edgy look in terms of it's very poppy kind of look, but it's still very grizzled and dark. And I love that about this book. I kind of, I'm loving that about all of the GI Joe stuff at the moment. I love this tone. I like this kind of shift where they're going with the artwork. It's not trying to be too super realistic or anything like that. Not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm loving this lean into the stylized quite a bit.
What would you say pushes that the most, Paul? The sort of the heavy inks?
Yes. The heavy inks, the heavy spotting of black, in the inks, it just brings a bit of an old school comic book quality to it as well. At least the 2000 AD feel to it as well, which I dig.
It's high contrast. Everything has a very strong light source that's either casting it in a black shadow or giving it extra kind of sharpness, between the blacks and the more light colors on the uniforms and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's not an artistic opinion, that's a lay opinion, but I think that's kind of what you're trying to say. I mean, this scene in Hawk's office, for instance,
so cool.
You've just got the slatted, it's obviously late sunset, or maybe it's early morning, but very, very sharp contrast between the blacks and sunlight.
I would love to see the inks of
Shadows.
these pages, like just the pure inked pages before the
Wow.
color, because they must look gorgeous.
Color.
Yeah, I mean the colors. I also love that the colors are mostly flat. They use like a very single toning, like all single tones, so they only use like one type of shadow. They don't try to create gradients or anything.
That's something I like as well, but for a different reason. Because I like old school comic books, and because everything was muted by the newspaper that it was printed on. I kind of modern comic books that have colors that really like are a little bit super contrasty. Don't feel like comic books to me. They're like, my eyes are bleeding, man. These comics, yeah, it does channel that old schoolness by having the colors a little bit more muted, a little bit more beige. Yeah, Paul, you're absolutely bang on, brother. There's a visual appeal to these books, which is fresh. It's old, but it is fresh.
It's cool to be excited about GI Joe again.
Yeah, and as we go deeper into the book, we can finally address Moonlight's question. What do we think about thoughts on Duke's grizzled look? He says it did wonders for Aquaman and gave Captain America a bit of an edge when they got that sort of makeover. What do we think of Duke with a beard?
Well, okay, I'll shoot it off. For me, it's a little weird. Like, I love the grizzled everything, but him having a beard, it feels wrong. But that's the intention. It's meant to feel wrong. It's meant to feel out of character for Duke. It's effective. I think it's a very effective storytelling tool. Do I find it to be visually like a visual preference? No, I don't love it. I feel like it makes him look softer, actually, which I don't personally.
Yeah,
like.
but it does lend towards his state of mind. It kind of really does. I mean, that's obviously not. I don't think it's going to be his look going forward, but this is like in his stage where he's like questioning everything. I think it suits him. You know, he's really let everything go. Yeah.
Also dig this version of Adele Burkhardt. So, like, I dig that. I love this whole, the fact that they have these like little clandestine meetings and how she creates a.
She just always has these conspiracy theorists over at her house. Like, Duke arrives there and she's got a throng of people just swanning about, and then later on we revisit this location, spoilers, and they've all been shot. But like, does she just constantly have this turnover of people, or do they live with her? I have many questions.
I love this because basically what she's doing is she's created like a smokescreen. So a lot of those people there, a lot of them firmly believe in conspiracies and things like that around the world, and very few of those people are actually like 100% right and are actually key players like Duke himself. And, you know, they can be camouflaged within those people. And I love that concept. I think it's because like that has been done, and I don't want to get into it like too much now, but I just think it's a very clever concept. It's a very cool cloak and dagger kind of thing. It's nice to see the good guys having to do stuff like that, you know, having to work in a clandestine way, you know, which GI Joe would normally never do, should I say. They would, but like GI Joe is funny in that it's a clandestine organization that operates very openly in the comic books, whereas here it still feels like they're very low key and stuff is still a bit spy like. So
cheers, Kiwi GI Customs. I hope you have a good time with the kids.
Later, Campbell. Yeah, man. It's Monday morning. He's got to get his kids up and ready.
Oh, yeah.
I almost didn't make this podcast because Elliot was uncharacteristically twitching at 6 a.m. saying, Daddy! So, fortunately, I was able to palm him off with his mother, who is sick. So she's home from work. So have fun with that. Do some parenting, Kim.
If there's shots fired, guys, if there's one thing that I feel that this comic book does incredibly well, at least for me, I love how they de-Cyclops Duke. Those of you here in the comments, and I'm pretty sure it's the majority of you, watched the X-Men cartoon in the 90s, read X-Men comics in the 90s, and found that Duke Cyclops is kind of a D-bag because he's always like, I'm like Captain Underpants, you know, everything about him is like so good, and he's like the class captain, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And Duke suffered from that a little bit as well. I always felt Duke's optics was like, kind of portrayed him that way, as like he's the absolute do-gooder, blah blah blah. And I feel like this comic does a very very good job of, like I said, shedding the Cyclops, the Scott Summers off him.
I wanted to get into that, Paul. Sorry, the sidebar. Rob, do you remember us reading this at this exact moment and reading the whole intro to Duke, that he's a man of action? Like, do you remember my reaction at that point?
I think you're like, ugh.
Ugh, yeah, vomit. And then on the page turn, you see the disheveled Duke and Hawk saying, "But none of that means Jack now. What happened to you, Conrad?" So at that moment, all of a sudden, my attention had snapped back. I was like, oh, okay, so they are going to make him fallible. They are going to make him this kind of grizzled shadow of his former self, like maybe hard drinking behind the scenes to cope with what he's seen. Like, I wish they leaned into that more, because he very quickly snaps back into like super soldier mode. But anyway,
but at least
this isn't a psychological book. This is an introduction to the GI Joe team book.
There's such a great little Easter egg that you're showing on screen right now, and if you can just scroll up,
cue the listeners in on it.
Yeah, so that is the mass device. Yes,
correct.
It's the mass device. But it's separated into pieces, very much like the
toy
25th anniversary figure, which I love. I think it's just such a like double Easter egg, in that respect, because I feel like the artist either had this toy set or knew somebody that has this toy set and was like kind of dying to like put this in here somewhere, or at least like the banter kind of ended up with it being there. But I love that. I'm glad
there's that impetus, because let's not get away from the fact that this is a toy line. You've got so many designs and so many toys to draw upon. Don't be afraid to do that. So even in something as like divorced from the toy line as this kind of introduction to the team conspiracy theory stuff, they're doing that. And I mean, it's not even an Easter egg, it's bold and in your face. But when Duke infiltrates Mars Industries and you get the splash page of just Cobra vehicles, that's buzzing my berries, guys. Fangs, hiss tanks, claws, snakes, bats.
I love this comment from Moonlight right here. The Duke Psych analogy gave me an odd vision of Snake Eyes on the bed holding a picture frame.
Like from the cartoon. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so great. Oh man. Yeah, and also dig that we got some of the tanks. What is the name of the Cobra Mobat again? I call it a Cobra Mobat, but it's what the Mobat
cat
in black?
The Crimson Attack tank?
I feel like those are behind the hiss. Like in my brain, that's what those are.
Oh, because Rob and I were like, oh, the artist just got lazy at that point.
He was just like,
no, I mean, his tanks take a little bit more panache to draw. A regular tank, cannon, turret, base, done.
Snake armor on the left here in the shot. It's also really cool to see.
And it's the first time I'm noticing that you've got the silhouettes of bats, because they're humanoid, but then they have the kind of the cutout of the lenticular on the chest, so that can only be one thing.
I would say he isn't actually fully back in his kind of like action man role, because I mean he does get caught. I mean, this is a very brash move on his part to kind of like infiltrate this facility on his own and get completely overwhelmed by what he's seeing. So I think he's definitely still on his way to becoming himself again, but he is still making mistakes as a fugitive.
Well, he's doing it alone. He's used to being a team player, maybe, and now he's too deep and without any kind of backup. Mercer makes his appearance, and Mercer, he's not been name dropped as Mercer, but he's got a big M on his chest because he works for Mars. I'd never made a connection like that before. So in this retelling, Mercer is an employee of Destro. And, I mean, Cobra doesn't exist, so it has to be Mars. And he puts the beat down on Duke. Duke manages to turn the tables on the big boy. And Mercer, what do you guys think of the redesign of Mercer as essentially a heavy, like, roadblock?
I love it. I dig it. It works for me. It reminds me a bit of that actor. He's in Snatch. He's in a lot of Guy Ritchie films. That big gentleman. He's
the football guy.
Yeah, the football guy. I want to.
Vinny Jones.
Vinny
Vinny
Jones.
Jones.
Thank you. Kind of gives
Yeah,
me that
okay.
like Vinny Jones presence in the comic, which is pretty cool. So I dig that, and I dig, and I love that he's in this book. Like that was such a nice like treat for me. You know, you don't know shit. I love it.
Well, you're getting little touches. We're slowly getting
No.
shown like what's
Lay
going
down,
on.
soldier.
Our eyes are being opened. As Rick says in the comments, he agrees with you, Paul, about what you're kind of saying about Duke. He's been given the fugitive role while maintaining his man of action role. Add the sprinkle of violence, and my eyes were open to this intro book, says Shattered Glass Jazz. Yeah, it's a cool intro to kind of like what they're trying to set up as the GI Joe and the Cobra. It's very like you're just slowly getting an idea of like how it all comes together inside this new universe that they're trying to establish.
Guys,
It just occurred to me now that by making Mercer your heavy, it kind of imbues the archetypical like muscle role with a bit more personality than usual. Because normally, like when you have this encounter, like guy sneaking through the building, and then he encounters this muscle-bound dude to fight. It's a throwaway villain, typically one of few words. But we recognize this as Mercer, and immediately, it sets the gears turning in our heads as to what his character arc is going to be. Like these guys are adversaries now, but ultimately, if things play out true to previous tellings of this character, Mercer's going to be one of Duke's guys eventually.
And and this page that you're looking at now, where they're having the fight scene. So at the top, this is actually the only page I have an issue with. So if you go to the top, it's so great. The action is so kinetic. You've got Duke, parrying off the punch, coming around, blocking some of the shots. It's looking really good. You get this cool shot of him grabbing Mercer, and then you can almost hear the foot squeak. You can almost hear like a weep, as the foot squeaks and he's about to throw Mercer. And then you get this great panel, which is like it's funny as all hell. However, so you got the silhouette of Mercer that's like hit this glass and it's like thunk. So for me, I don't know, I know why, but it took me a while to realize that actually that glass is quite far away in the background. And that these, the dudes that are in the panel are actually quite close in the background. And I feel like if the artist had just managed to just put a small like middle ground thing there just to help the scale a bit, because I was like, oh my word, I was like, okay, maybe it's just a stylistic thing to show that he's hit the glass or whatever, but like, why is Mercer looking so small? It's just my eye, like that kind of.
Mars is creating giant battle mechs, of course. Those are what those things are in the foreground.
It was just it was such a weird like error of parallax in my brain, like such a like gestalt thing. Anyway, that's literally the only problem I have with this book. It's like that panel, because I feel like it's also really funny.
The only problem you have with this book?
Literally is the only problem I have with this book.
That is beautiful to know.
Data.
Welcome
Perfect
to
book.
MC DJ DC. Never late, but always. You may be late, but just your presence is always appreciated. And
Totally,
Emmanuel Gossett.
And here we get to the Batman-y stuff.
Yes, Duke gets swamped by Mars security personnel. Not quite Iron Grenadiers. They just have red masks over their kind of dark grey riot gear. Interesting. Like, there's not much design difference between these guys and then the kind of the cops that surround Duke later. In fact, the cops look more like Cobra troopers.
Cobra, yeah.
It's an interesting kind of visual confusion. Anyways, Duke gets taken, but Destro turns him loose, saying like, if we killed every single person that snooped around our facilities, we'd have gone under a long time ago. So yeah, I guess Destro's playing conservatively, but he still keeps tabs on on Duke.
Such a cool shot of Destro in the panel that you just swiped past now. That his room, and it's got like it's like a jaguar on a branch, and it's an Iron Maiden in the background. And then you've got like this cool like triangle of fire, and he's just in his like pose. He's like worried King Conan pose. I love it. It's so dark. It really like sets Destro up nicely. I keep thinking of like, what is a new reader who knows nothing about GI Joe feeling about this, and that's been exciting for me as well with this book. It's like I'm getting to put myself in somebody else's eyes, and trying to see it from other people's perspective. And so far, like I feel like it's fun, you know, like divorcing myself from everything that I know about GI Joe and looking at this book like that has been really fun. Also, great stylistic choice on these stairs here. Sorry, guys, for the listeners, there's just these beautifully silhouetted stairs in the one comic panel. I just really thought that was well executed. For those of you guys that are watching it, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, carry on. I feel like I'm talking too much, so I'm just going to put my mute on.
More muted colors, though. This is also a stylistic choice. Like,
Nighttime.
maybe it's got to do with the lighting of nighttime, but yeah, the colors are all kind of bumped down. So Duke's been turned loose. He's walking around. He's got a bloodied face, and he's on the phone to somebody. I don't know who he's talking to.
I assumed he was talking to Dr. Burkhart, wasn't he?
Burkhart, yeah. And I
But
feel
his
like
language doesn't support that. His language doesn't support that because he says that has something to say. What? That has to say something, man. Does he call Dr. Adele Burkhart the doctor who he just met? Is he that, you know, personable with her that he calls her man? I think this might be a Roadblock situation. Duke was introduced in the classic comic books with Roadblock. Maybe he's got an ally, a sort of a veteran on the outside in this retelling, and it's Roadblock. Maybe that's how Roadblock entered the team. That's Duke's his man, his support.
I would like to see how long they can go on this book for without having Snake Eyes in it. I would actually also really appreciate if they could do that.
Well, it's a mini series, and it's Duke. So I'd like to think we can probably go the entire mini series without seeing Snake Eyes.
I really hope they do that, because I don't want it to be like he's talking to Snake Eyes now, because that would annoy the crap out of me.
No, I think Steven's theory is probably more sound. He was originally
Like it's Rhodey or something.
Roadblock,
Yeah.
and
Falcon and Captain America.
Yeah,
That's the analogy here. It's definitely drawing some of that Winter Soldier trope of
The
like
Falcon and
going
the Winter Soldier.
the Captain America. Yep, so everyone's been slaughtered at this conspiracy theorist den, Dr. Adele Burkhart's place. Man, she didn't last long in this retelling. She has
No Lady
knack.
Doomsday for you.
Yeah, exactly. She has a knack of turning up until she dies in main continuity. But this time, yeah, they're getting rid of her nice and quick. She hands off something to Duke before the authorities arrive. Very Cobra looking. In fact, they even colored a deep blue to contrast with the very red. Yeah, for some reason, Adele Burkhart's house is all red in this. Probably just a style choice. It's not like she changed all the light bulbs to red.
Yeah, she didn't paint it up red. No, we went for a stylistic choice here. When I say we, I mean like I'm speaking like, you know, in the third person. Guys, who do you think killed her? And I think there's a really good hint in the panel if you go up. She says something. Yes, Hans Charles got it. I was excited about that. I like old blood. Jimmy Godfrey over there in the comments. Hi, Jimmy. I would say this is the man that's got me like kind of turned on to blood quite a bit as a character. I don't know what it is that you've done, Jimmy, specifically, but I get excited when Major Blood gets the opportunity to be played up a little bit, especially in a book with this kind of styling, because now we can see Major Blood being, well, badass. So
badass. And then a very interesting scene, which is very kind of unbelievable, kind of like how Zantara comments on Destro releasing Duke earlier. What kind of James Bond villain logic is that? Well, we get a very interesting moment here where Duke is completely or almost completely unhit by a unbelievably huge like hail of bullets, where it's just like no ways he gets out of that. It's very over the top. So it's not,
and he survives the explosive
realistic.
Window as well,
and the window too. So yeah, it's
a bit of an indictment on law enforcement that they offload in like
who's got a gun
inside a neighborhood, like they are just like full auto.
Well, they don't look like good guys. I think they definitely are slanting them towards being like, and they know he doesn't have a gun. They say that because they, to have reason to start shooting at him.
The sound of the police.
Guys, I'm going to wrap this up quickly by saying, while I think this is a perfectly serviceable entry, or not a service, it's an excellent comic
It's
book.
a very good introduction to
I don't need to see the origin of GI Joe. It's not a story that interests me in the slightest. I want to read stories when GI Joe is an existing entity and has all the toys to play with. And this conspiracy theory trope, which is very much like GI Joe Renegades, which we are in the process of doing a rewatch, is boring to me. Dull as dishwater, and
you want to jump ahead to when everything's established, and you want to start telling stories there.
between this book and the other book that we're going to flip to in a moment, I would sooner choose the other book. There's nothing really intriguing about this because we've seen all these tropes play out before, and this piecemeal trickle out of the G.I. Joe membership that we get in the sort of the epilogue where Colonel Hawk is on the phone to his superiors and he's like, "Gotta send in my guys to catch a real American hero. We need real American heroes." I mean, my vomit returned to my throat at that point. He's talking to Cover Girl, Courtney Krieger, in the chopper, and we get sort of artwork of Stalker creeping through the jungle.
Great. And a cool version of rock and roll. Yeah.
The 80s hammy, like, I don't know. It's playing the note a little bit too hard, if I'm being honest. And then rock and roll. In his classified getup, it looks like they've got the little bracket on his helmet for NVGs, which I
always call it the Sideshow look because Sideshow did that look first.
It's goofy looking. It's practical, but like if you're used to GI Joes with a more traditional bucket style helmet, having that thing on the front makes it look like, I don't know, laser tag or paintballing.
Wow, that really just doesn't bug me like at all.
Really?
Like in the least, no, not at all. I'm actually like, I get where you're coming from with the tropes and stuff. And again, when I was reading this, it, like I mentioned, I could divorce myself from being a longtime GI Joe fan and seeing this with the excitement of fresh eyes. And I'm just excited for the brand right now, and I'm excited for GI Joe because I feel like this is a really great way of presenting it. I feel like the timing is right, you know, with shows like Jack Reacher or like Reacher doing very, very well, which I feel that this is kind of in a weird way similar to, and sort of, I don't know, I just feel like this is the same kind of storytelling in a lot of ways as Reacher is. So I kind of feel like the timing is just right for this, and I hope that it gets the right momentum. I feel you on not having on a retread of an origin of GI Joe. Like, I feel you on that big time, because we've had it as GI Joe fans. We've had it a lot of. We've had it through IDW. We've had it through Devil's Due. We've had it through Devil's Due again, with like when they did that new GI Joe series. I can't even remember the name of it. Then IDW has also kind of redone it all the time, so it does get a little bit like tiresome to always have this origin. But I do appreciate
long-term
this
fans,
take on it. Yeah.
You know? But I think where you're coming from, Paul, is a good place. They are trying to set up their own version of G.I. Joe. I don't feel like they can just jump straight into the middle of something and start telling those new stories without showing like this is where we're coming from in our G.I. Joe versions. And the thing is, we still have those original versions of G.I. Joe. You know, 301, 302, etc. is continuing on. Real American Hero is still a thing. So definitely for the long-term fans, that book is there. I mean, Rick seems to steal the words out of my mouth. The other Joe book already exists with continuity. You know, these limited series give an opportunity to dive into the Energon universe. And he continues to say, I really like the Duke and Cobra Commander issues. So it's a fresh take. It's kind of establishing how do these guys fit into the Energon universe, and how does G.I. Joe fit in a world where Transformers exist? And I know Hans earlier asked
Transformers X G.I. Joe or something. Yeah.
Where he did ask, he doesn't like it when, I'm going to summarize what he said. He basically doesn't, there it is. Hunt says, I'm 100% anti GI Joe X Transformer in the comics. The Transformers always outshine the Joes. Did this comic sell it, or should I skip? I think this one, it doesn't yet have a lot of Transformers in it. Basically, it's just the catalyst for where the story starts for Duke. I would definitely say the Cobra Commander series is very heavily, obviously, influenced by the Transformers existing within the Energon universe, and it's kind of like more of the jumping off point where how does Transformers and GI Joe interact with each other. So I would say you could probably read Duke without worrying too much about Transformers. And that's probably an opinion that I have had myself. It is always very difficult to kind of balance GI Joe and Cobra. I mean, GI Joe and Transformers in the same stories because of the complete and utter power difference between a person who is only human and a machine. So it is difficult to kind of like, how do you balance it and make it seem plausible?
With a man-portable anti-armor system, that's how you balance it. I'm sorry, this constant argument that the Transformers overpower G.I. Joe is BS. If one person can destroy a main battle tank, we might be these meat bags to a Transformer, but our weapon systems make us pretty lethal ants.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Especially if our weapons are made of Cybertronian technology.
I was leaving a space for you to come in, where you counter my argument. But I was,
well, it's everyone's argument. I'm always hearing this like, oh, Transformers are so powerful. I'm like, they transform into cars and jets. We can take out cars and jets, right? Anyway, maybe I'm oversimplifying it because I haven't been keeping tabs with Transformers and mass shifting and stasis lock.
But before, without getting too much in the weeds as well, I mean, the Autobots invariably side with the Joes anyway, so we end up using some form of low-level energon weaponry against. So
there are ways of working around it for sure. But I obviously I can still see where Hans is coming from. I mean, you want that kind of realism of like soldiers just fighting soldiers and having like weird alien tech stories or whatever. But it can kind of overshadow the heroism of the GI Joes if the story isn't told right. And yeah, Rick, it's fantastic. As he says, the good news is local comic book shops here are ordering heavy and selling out. Thank God Joe and TF Comics are selling well. And yeah, apparently that's a big thing. Duke, I believe, was pre-ordered up to 10,000 copies before it hit the shelves. And Cobra Commander, well, at least according to news that I think I saw, over 40,000 issues were pre-ordered. So that can't just be
40,000.
I believe so. 40,000.
And yet they still sell the ebook for $4.
Well, they still want to make money,
The Hasbros. And the
Hasbro and the company itself. I mean, obviously, that's money that goes directly to them. That's not just money coming from comic book shops.
It's an intellectual property. I get it. It's just it always bugs me that the physical and digital are the same.
It's selling. There is an interest in this, and that can't just be older fans. I'd like to think it's older fans, but it's also people kind of keying into Robert Kirkman. His long track record with Walking Dead and all the other properties that he's worked on. And expanded, and knowledge of him and his ideas and the way he kind of approaches comic book storytelling. And I think it's a good time to be a comic book fan of G.I. Joe and Transformers. I think we're going up, and we're going to find out right now how high up we're going when Cobra Commander is a wild ride. They bring in crazy shit in here.
So WJ makes a good point. Except they have advanced alien tech, you think any advanced faster than light civilization is scared of our do you think any faster than light civilization is scared of our rockets? So that is why, yes, I agree that they do outclass us technologically, yes. And like I said, the Cybertronian, I believe the Autobot side of it is always they're going to add some tech, they're going to help us, but that initial wave, we'll fight them off. And also, let me just remind everybody here on a very cynical note, human beings are a disease, and anything that is exposed to us for long periods of time will invariably die or be packaged or be eaten. So the Cybertronians actually
You
have
and
no
Gaz
chance.
on the same wavelength there. We as humans adapt.
There we go. Thanks, Gaz.
He says in a nicer way, where he's not insinuating that we're an awful virus that just destroys everything.
Yeah, his is
We're
way
cockroaches
more
crawling upon the surface of the earth. I mean, you can send the exterminators as much as you want, but you can never get rid of us fully. Whereas Transformers, they rust.
You'll kill the best of us, and
Hell
you'll be
yeah.
left with the worst of us. So,
Well, I think we've come to that point in the episode where we're about to dive deep into Cobra Commander
Cobra,
and his
la, 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 la,
crevices
la, la, la.
and everything
Oh,
else
that's nice.
related to him. So big spoilers coming. Big spoilers for anyone who has not read Cobra Commander issue 1. So if you want to jump off this point, completely understandable. Hit us up. Continue with
But
this episode.
before we dismiss those people,
Oh no, I don't.
Rob, Paul, should they pick up this book?
I think so. Absolutely.
I think they should.
No, I'm talking about Cobra Commander.
Oh, Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. It's a very interesting take on
Spoonkiller
on
wants to hear
Cobra
our
Command.
rating for Duke 1, by the way.
Well, for Duke
2.5.
as well,
3.
Oh,
I'll give it
wow.
3.
I'll give it 4. I'll give Duke 4. So I give
I'll
Duke
give it-
4.
I give it like 4 as well.
Wow.
In all
Cobra
fairness,
Commander?
even though my
Mhm.
30, I think my 301 rating might be a little bit higher. I think Duke is a more interesting book. personally.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I'm more invested in the story for Duke. I'm more excited. Let me put it to this way: I've only got a limited amount of money to buy comics, digital and or otherwise.
Yeah.
And I'm actually saving my money for Duke 2 more than 302 or 303.
Wow. That
Should I say,
is that's telling.
That's telling. That for me,
Hmm.
that's telling. That's saying something. Even though
But
I
Cobra
absolutely
Commander?
love the art and the 300.
What rating do you give Cobra Commander before we dismiss the people who don't like spoilers?
4.5.
Yeah, I would also
Wow.
say strong 4.5. Yeah, very much so.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
I'll give it a 4 because I'm contrary. I'm
You
that
have
sort
to
of-
be a contrarian.
So across the board, we are rating Cobra Commander higher than Duke.
Yeah, I think so. Well, no. Well, I give
Well,
both 4.
In my point, it's
I
like
think,
a
I think they're
smidge
both
higher.
very good. I'm interested to see where things are going. Spoonkiller, unfortunately, does not like Cobra Commander. Maybe he's definitely going to stick around in here, and he knows
See why we like it. he's going to see why we like it, and we're not going to try and convince him to like it. So,
But
Absolutely.
I
yes,
had a
let's
feeling that was
dismiss
the case.
all the people who don't want to be spoiled. You
Yes.
best step off now and don't even look at the chats because there's a spoiler
And
already.
for people in the future, yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining us. Come back to this episode at an hour and 12 minutes ish. I suppose your I don't know, your podcast thing will remember it for you. Yeah, catch you in 311 where we do cool shit like talk about
teenagers
toys. I don't know.
Jeez, Paul, you're on a Power Rangers tip tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
I
boys.
just got this helmet. I'm loving this stupid.
To preface our chat about Cobra Commander issue number 1, I think I speak for myself and Paul definitely. Maybe you, Rob. Maybe I don't know if you ever rented it from the video store. But GI Joe the movie 1987 was our earliest piece of GI Joe media. Before we ever read a comic book, before we ever watched a cartoon, in some cases before we even had a toy in hand, we had watched GI Joe the movie. So that's our starting point. That's our year 0 for GI Joe. So when you say the words Cobra Law to fans like Steve and Paul from GI Joburg, that places it in this before time. And immediately it has a veneer of cool that everyone who was a fan of GI Joe from the off, from 1982, that was their jumping off point. So
it's
GI
like
Joe
saying
represents
me love
the
90s toys the most.
There are groups for that. We are going to run contrary to typical G.I. Joe fandom on this because Cobra Law for G.I. Joburg is cool.
Yeah, for
Having
you guys.
Cobra Commander, a mutant snake man, is cool.
Yeah,
Having
for
it
you
as
guys.
a used car salesman pyramid schemer is daft.
I like
For you
both.
guys.
I'm odd in that I like both.
All right,
Well,
Rob.
this is an opinion I've always had. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, whenever we've discussed the GI Joe the movie, I've always said Cobra Law is it's super dumb. It suddenly becomes sci-fi, where GI Joe for me has always been very grounded in realism and real world kind of like technology. There's been some obviously what they're using is more advanced than the time that they're using it in, but it's not super sci-fi. Not that I've ever had a problem with sci-fi on it, somewhere else. But when I kind of like experienced the movie, I was like, this is weird. Sci-fi in GI Joe is very strange. But having said that, I really like it in this context, and it actually does make me appreciate the movie a little bit more, as maybe not a standalone thing, but kind of like how it fits into this Energon universe, because you really have to establish very early on that there is more sci-fi elements to the origins of Cobra and GI Joe within an Energon universe, within a Transformers universe, because what gives them maybe not an edge, but what kind of like fits them into the Transformers universe better is having these sort of science fiction origins. And yes, even though I'm a big like guy against it generally in the movie and having that how that fits into the cartoon universe of GI Joe, I think it works very well in this context. It's a good way of kind of establishing how these guys think on a higher level than just human understanding of technology and the enemies that you can face. And he's set himself up on a very good initial footing for what's obviously going to come next. Eventually when Cobra and GI Joe, when humans do fight Transformers, I imagine at some point. So long story short, I think I really don't mind Cobra Law in this context at all, weirdly enough.
That is actually very exciting for me to hear, Rob, because this is I mean, we kind of know that you're not like the biggest fan of Cobra Law.
Oh yeah,
so that you're kind of on. I mean, you're not converted. You're not drinking the Kool-Aid or anything like that. But you are very much like open to the concept, which and this is why I can like say I can enjoy both versions of Cobra Commander. The early 20s, going into my 30s version of me really loves the businessman running the self-help seminars that are actually like gateways into cults and things like that, and building up Cobra like that. I love that idea.
Well,
I love
it's a real world personality thing. Like
I love that.
Here says, a failed businessman brainwashing other failed adults is scary.
It is scary.
Not so much.
But then,
they're scary in different ways, maybe.
Yeah, but then I've always enjoyed this sort of horror movie, horror sci-fi, almost the Thing like quality of Cobra Law, which is very, I feel like the Thing very heavily inspires Cobra Law in a lot of ways. And I also have always found Cobra Law to kind of be like a weird personal challenge, because if you can find a way to make Cobra Law appeal to the masses of fans out there who have never really liked it, then you're pulling off something really great. And that's kind of made me like Cobra Law even more, because I keep like thinking of ways to make it more interesting. Steve, I know you do as well, because we've had some discussions about it. Yeah, that is I like this. I didn't think I was gonna, but I like this. And let's like peel it apart, like peel the pages apart. So
in much the same way as like we've got our main series Cobra Commander, and our main series GI Joe. In order for this miniseries to stand on its own plinth, you've got to do something different, doing a retread of what's come before. And Cobra Law, to my knowledge, has been left alone, dormant, as a story concept that at one point was going to be the direction G.I. Joe took till everyone rejected it. It's been left alone, and I'm glad someone has had the boldness to do it, because it does throw something new into the mix, particularly in this universe where we're smashing G.I. Joe into the same world as Transformers. For Cobra to have something sinister, something inhuman behind it, Yeah.
You don't want to
like
wake up
that.
as a clam or something.
Now, the first few pages of Cobra Commander were released as a preview. It opens with a snowy landscape. We cut in, and it's obviously in the English-speaking worlds because there's a diner called No Man's Land. We're inside the diner, and Cobra Commander wearing his wide-brimmed hat and coat, very much a la the Transformers episode Only Human. Yeah, exactly. I love the fact that they're referencing that. They have an amazing reference later. Another one of Cobra Commander's looks.
The world is Cobra Commander.
But this snowy resetting with Cobra Commander wandering in immediately kind of gave me Cobra Law vibes. I was like, yeah, I think I know what's going to happen here. So I got excited even when the preview came out that this could reintroduce Cobra Law into the mythology. He steals one of the guy's vehicles after killing him off screen, off panel, with a zzzt, a very signature sound. And when I read the preview, I thought, could that be the sound of the Venom Blaster? Because we see this guy's sort of blood splatter, and then we see his hand. He's obviously lying dead on the ground in the snow, and there's a Cobra symbol, like painted in his blood, on the snow. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if the signature, like, of the Venom Blaster is that it blasts this perfect Cobra symbol through you, and then kind of imprints it upon the ground or the wall behind you. And I mean, that would explain why the front of the Venom Blaster has those fins, because it's actually just like a big stamp.
Yeah, it's like a Cuisinart. You know, it cuts like a snake Julian carrot cut out of a human being. Guys, just reaching in here quickly. Laura K, you and I are on the same page. I also really want to classify a Pythona. In fact, I'll take any Pythona figure. I would actually even prefer a vintage one. Maybe I would like both. I don't know. I'm undecided. Carry on.
Come on, Super 7. Bring us the one thing we really want you to do, and that's O-ring Pythona. Anyway, so
or something.
we learn that... That's not her line, that's Serena.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so why do you keep saying it? Anyway, we learn that it wasn't, to my disappointment, this wasn't a Venom Blaster. We find out exactly what makes that signature sound, but okay, immediately after the preview is done, we're right into the backstory with a Cobra Law landscape just plucked from this artist's imagination. It's gorgeous.
Well, from the and it's very much inspired by a lot of these sort of psychedelic art of like the 70s, and also a lot of comic art from Jean-Gerard Mobius. So yeah,
we're seeing a world that has absolutely zero non-organic technology. Yeah. Everything is built from something living.
What's up, Cody?
It makes my skin crawl a little bit to see.
Well,
in much the same way as like a native Cobra Law person would be disgusted by how much inorganic matter we construct our lives out of. Like me seeing, like basically living inside a giant toadstool. Ooh, grim. I mean, there's someone harvesting. He looks like a technovibe, actually. He's like harvesting stuff, like spores, and I don't know. Cobra Law. They could really lean into exactly how kind of grotesque this world can be, and I hope they do.
Like a Rush cover,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It looks like a trance party, to be honest.
I love it. I love it so much. I love this kind of style of art.
But there is insurrection brewing in Cobra Law as a mob of people raid the laboratory which Cobra Commander is actually working in, and there's an interesting.
That's how you read it, right?
Yeah, indeed. That's how the battle cry sounds. There's an interesting bait and switch. Yeah, we see a guy dressed like Cobra Commander was dressed in his movie appearances
in the flashback, in the movie
Cobra Law flashbacks. And he's saying, "We must retreat, retreat," which is obviously Cobra Commander's classic line from the cartoon. But he gets shot through the head by Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
Dude, wearing the 1991 outfit. Oh my word!
I was so amped when I saw this. I actually I audibly not winced. I only like squeaked. I was like, I was like,
Well, this was
is
the
so cool.
moment. I mean, the Cobra last splash page obviously got me interested, but this was the moment where I was like, yes, I know I'm going to enjoy this now. Yeah.
Like the one dude in the back's like, holy crap, he just killed that guy. You know, like
I'm curious, was he always wearing that outfit, or was this like the big reveal? Because, like, I'm going to work with this guy, and he's dressed rather strangely. I mean, is it just his signature look? I have a theory that, I mean, it alludes to something that Globulus says later, but in this retelling, is Cobra Commander human? And Globulus found him and took him in, and that's why he wears a mask. So
That's the way
what
I
I'm
understood
thinking
it.
is
Yeah,
as well.
because later on he's like, I took you in from the outside world, and you kind of like adapted to our ways, essentially. So
this
maybe
doesn't
does-
preclude him being a failed businessman.
Yeah,
There you go, Spoon Killer.
Hey, it still
He's just been
works.
taken into this strange world and given a new purpose. All of a sudden, I want to take my 1991 Cobra Commander Battle Core version and paint his gloves red. It's a good look.
It is a good look.
Okay, so this is a great comment from Spoon. Thinking about it now, they may have done this on purpose. Duke 1 is for the earlier Joe fan, and Cobra Commander is for the Neon crowd. Thankfully,
Which
GI
we all
Joburg,
unashamedly
we
part
bridge
of.
both. We
Yeah.
bridge that gap. We absolutely love Neon. We absolutely love old school stuff.
I need this CC in my life as well. I can't believe I don't have
How
it.
do you
Because
not
this was
own-
my Cobra Commander. When I was a kid, this was my Cobra Commander. You know?
Mine too.
So such a cool
Gold
toy.
gun and glider launcher.
Launcher,
Et al.
whatever, yeah.
You didn't like it?
Yeah.
Okay. I had fun.
I
with
didn't
it.
care for that glider launch. Then it had its fun, whatever. But anyway, let's focus on the awesome that is this comic. Guys,
For you, Paul, Cobra Commander got isekai.
it's the guide. Yeah, exactly. I'm stuck in a Cobra themed. I'm stuck in an ancient snake world as a scientist. How am I gonna make it out of this? My life is like I'm trying to think of a really long isekai title. So guys, is it correct here? And am I correct understanding this correctly? And I'm sure I am. But because one of his dudes like kind of lets off a bomb, but it's a spore bomb. So it now mutates Cobra Commander. So now he is actually a citizen of Cobra Law.
I didn't get that. I thought that it was a pretty conventional explosion. He loses an eye in the explosion, and so the human that is Cobra Commander has now been imbued with Cobra Law tech.
Yeah,
They've
that's how I understood it.
had this three-headed snake thing kind of pump him full of, I don't know, healing venom. And they've grafted an eye above where his missing eye is. I don't know why they just didn't put it on the eye socket, but I suppose this makes it more gory and Cobra-like. And that's why, at this point, he dons the mirror face because of his wounds.
His visage.
Now, he's in his hospital bed. He's almost fully recovered, and Pythona shows up to summon him before Globulus. He goes into Globulus's chamber with his weapons somehow hidden on his person. Where he was under armed guard the whole time. Where did he pick up his devices?
Maybe Pythona gave it to him.
Oh, I like it.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Either that
Yeah.
or they don't recognize it as something that's threatening. I mean, you know, he could have had it with him the whole time. And
It's
they wouldn't have
inorganic.
realized that it's inorganic.
It's his hairdryer, bro.
No, it's not his hairdryer. We discovered
I know.
that these devices are Cybertronian tech. Little bugs that he uses to... Okay, firstly, let's not skip over the plot point that Globulus he heals Cobra Commander, dresses Cobra Commander, summons him before his throne just to kill him. That's some Bond villain shit right there. I just want to have one last monologue in front of you before I put you to death. But he uses royal guards, which, oh man, lovely. They've got their kind of hook, sword, axe things, and 3 of them take on Cobra Commander, and for a while, before he unleashes his, like, Cybertronian bugs, beetle boring things to defeat them. He was holding his own. Like he's managing to avoid these slashing attacks by the royal guards. Let's not lose sight of the fact that in the beginning he was gonna lead a bunch of scientists against like a mob, and he wasn't calling retreat. He was like calling attack. He was running in to the mob and throwing bombs and stuff. Like this Cobra Commander is not a coward. He is
surrounded by idiots.
He's a warrior.
Yeah. No,
He's
I
very
think that as well
capable.
about him. He knows when to press dodge. It's actually great. Like every time.
Even if you don't like Cobra Law, I hope you can find some enjoyment in the fact that this Cobra Commander is a potent enemy, even when it's just him. He's Doctor Dooming this shit, man. He's got minions and robots and bugs and things to do his fighting for him. But when you face him, mano y mano, or mano y serpiente, you're gonna come short. I mean, if you expected him to be a pushover and a coward, forget about it. These 3 royal guards thought that they had an easy execution in front of them, but they are cut down, man. By the... What's the sound effect? Let me say it one more time. Zrt, Yes, we learned that the earlier murder was at the hands of these robot beetles that bore into your face and tear you a new one. Globulus seems pleased. He's like, okay, you killed my guys, so I guess I'll give you a renewed purpose. You've convinced me. So he sends Cobra Commander into the world to... What is he doing? Yeah, I guess. He needs to take his knowledge and expertise into the world in order for Cobra Law to advance as a society, because he says that resources are dwindling, the society is on the verge of collapse. Let me be your Kal-El.
I like the scale of this.
He's good with he is an exceptionally smart person. He's very deceitful, because I mean this is obviously...
Is he?
I think he definitely is, because I mean even Globulus is like that riot that occurred earlier where you got killed.
You instigated it.
You instigated it.
These balls have dropped.
Powerful. Yeah, he's very deceitful. Like the whole reason that entire thing occurred is because he wanted it to happen. He wanted this entire conflict to occur so that he could convince Globulus that this is the way forward. That we need to use this technology to be able to advance our society. The society that you have adopted me into, I've fully integrated. I believe in your ideals, and this is the way forward. But it's not just for himself; it's for the society of Cobra Law. But everything is his. It's in service of what he wants to do next and what he wants to achieve. So I think he is very deceitful, for sure.
Right. Yes, he's loyal to Cobra Law, but not to Globulus. He wants to perhaps usurp Globulus. Yeah, because he reiterates a number of times that you must trust me, I'm loyal to you, and he keeps saying this. And you know, on the face, that seems to be the truth, because he's undertaking this mission for the betterment of Cobra Law, but not necessarily the betterment of Globulus. Yeah, you're right, Rob. He probably did instigate that riot to shake up the established order.
Yeah.
He likes the power of Cobra Law.
We see that Cobra Commander has been harvesting his technology directly from Megatron. That in this retelling, we once again have... I mean, it's too cool an image to ignore, to have Cobra Commander holding an old-school German pistol that has a Decepticon symbol on it. Like, Dreamwave did it, Devil's Due did it, we're going to see it now, perhaps, by Skybound. Like, that's where we're going, this kind of... This what's it called? Axis of evil. The Decepticons and the Cobras. But yeah, it had to be the main man. It's Megatron. He's got no arms, poor guy. He's been there for who knows how long.
I love that he's being made to bow. He's taking the knee. Like, I love that. If they could have just had him like hanging and whatever's and like all like smashed up and whatever like they did in the comic. But Cobra Commander has made sure that he is bowing to him, and I love that. So egomaniacal, you know, because that's what Megatron would do. He would also make you bow, Starscream, you know, kind of
Oh,
thing.
he'd just
Like,
squish you. Oh, well, no, if
Yeah.
you're Starscream, sure.
exactly.
It's cool, man. He's bowed over like a gantry, so I guess they've been kind of like poking around in his guts. It's an unfortunate position for any Cybertronian to be in. But yeah, Megatron ends the scene. I mean, Cobra Commander seems to be touting that he can extract information like no one else can from Cybertronians, and he subjects Megatron to some like electroshock. But Megatron ends the scene with this maniacal smile, like he's like maybe that last shock managed to free some system. So I expect to see him rampaging through Cobra Law not too long from now.
Or all of the technology that Megatron is sharing has always been to Megatron's benefit. Which,
Okay.
Yeah, that's another
Right,
thing
yeah.
as well. Yeah, and it's cool because it shows that Megatron is still even captive. He is a force to be reckoned with, and he's only in this position because he allows himself to be in this position.
yeah.
So it's cool that they're
Megatron's
both.
a working man, bro.
He's
He's
because
he's
it doesn't
Bruce
show
Springsteen
that
of
like
Cybertron.
yeah,
Carry on.
and it
Yeah.
and it also doesn't put Megatron down completely. It
Yeah.
doesn't make him completely incompetent. It's like it suggests, oh, yes, he's in Cobra Commander's kind of like grips, but it might be because he wants to be like that.
Oh,
So
totally.
it doesn't take
He
away
can't fix
from
himself.
his evil. Yeah,
Yeah. He's basically feeding Cobra Commander everything that he needs to
kind of
that he
advance
needs to get all the info that he needs, to advance his scheme, to be able to get Energon closer to him, so that he now has Energon and he can like now build even more sophisticated technology, which can like slowly and like quietly repair him until he takes asserts his dominance. Yeah.
Well, not to spoil it. I mean, we are in spoilers here, but I think it's in the most recent issue of Transformers now, issue 4, where Optimus Prime loses his arm, and actually the arm that they used to replace his arm is Megatron's arm, the arm with the gun on it.
Till all are one.
Jeepers.
So
Wow,
that's kind
okay.
of cool. It's a cool image.
In this retelling, does Prime have the Matrix?
He does still have the Matrix, yes. There is
'cause
a
I was
scene
thinking
in
to
the
myself,
4th issue.
Wasn't this? I mean, in order to wield Megatron's black hole cannon, you have to have tremendous energies, and I suppose only a Prime with the Matrix could step up to
he
that.
hasn't shot the gun yet, but he has equipped the arm to himself. But yes, he does have the Matrix. He actually uses the Matrix to save, I think, Sam's life. He's like the power goes out in the hospital. Sam was grievously injured in I think issue 2 or 3, and he's like, I have to do this. Like I don't care about the consequences or the dangers to myself. I must save them because it is our actions that have caused this to occur. Yeah, go check out Transformers, guys.
It's like Superman turning back time to save Lois Lane. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Nice.
more realistic.
Hold on. I've got this.
What's Paul got? What you got there?
I'm just
Paul?
like there's ball joints on this small Optimus, because I think you have the same one now, hey Rob?
Yeah, I
You
do.
should do. Yeah. So it makes me want to kind of like
Pop the arm
swap
off.
him so he can have Megatron's
Do
arm.
it.
That would be
Do
pretty
it.
cool. And then he can be like, the stranger.
Yeah, I think you should.
And I won't
do it.
elaborate too hard on that. Where's your head, bro?
His head's gone.
Bit of
So,
speculation from Spoon Killer that is Megatron really captive?
That's
I
where
don't
I'm
think
going.
so.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
could be. He is captive, but he kind of allows himself to remain captive because it works towards his advantage.
He's just
And,
inserting his algorithm or whatever, his programming into whatever technology Cobra Commander harvests. So it's ultimately loyal to him. We've seen that trope before in GI Joe. I think Destro kept all the battle android troopers loyal to him because he built them, didn't he?
Yeah.
So at the denouement of this issue, we see Cobra Commanders working with someone. Who is this? I mean, who is
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll?
No, kidding. It's someone with a beard and a cap, like a trucker cap. That's his I suppose, his handler.
Yeah.
So Cobra Commander wasn't sent alone. He has someone to kind of mind him and perhaps
Yeah.
keep him from straying too far. This guy probably reports to Globulus, I'm assuming. Well, Paul, you haven't spoken on it yet. Rob introduced it. I've speculated a little bit, but who's your knee jerk? Who's this mysterious trench-coated, beard-wearing, cap-wearing man?
I wonder if it's Nemesis Enforcer that's just in disguise.
Could be.
And given
Could be.
the ability to speak. Okay, Paul,
Yeah.
Rob, other man in the podcast.
I think that's a good theory. I mean, I knew him to be, or at least I thought he was someone from Cobra Law, but I didn't actually speculate as to like exactly who it could be. But Nemesis Enforcer is a good choice.
Well, I did speculate
very
as to exactly who it should be, and I think it should be Zartan.
Well,
Why does Zartan's skin turn blue? Because he's a Cobra Law native. That's why he's got blue skin.
well, the issue. I mean, it does round out with
That is a great deep cut, Steve. I like that idea.
Chameleon blood. He's reptilian. That's why he
Could
can
be.
change color.
And he's like, he's amnesiac as well, so he doesn't know where it actually comes from. Or he probably
Maybe in
does
this
now at the
retelling he
moment.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Maybe
there's
he
always been
really
something
knows.
kind of beyond human about Zartan. Even in Larry Harmer's writing, there's perhaps a little nugget there that he's long since forgotten. But when Zartan is fighting Gung Ho in the pit, he says to Gung Ho, "Why do you keep up this pursuit? You do realize that I'm more than human." Something to that effect. I'm not exactly human. Like, alluding to the fact that he's inhumanly strong or inhumanly powerful or has inhuman endurance.
Clam or something.
You know, Zartan's always been maybe a little bit more
Superhuman.
powerful than the average character in GI Joe, and it's kind of had a mysterious origin, that power. It gets explained away later on, the deeper we get into the lore with him being martial artist, etc. But in his earliest appearances in GI Joe, where he has the kind of the strange ability to take on Firefly's camo pattern, stuff like that, we're left with this mystery. Because in that appearance, at least, it's not holography. It's definitely like got something to do with his actual skin changing.
Yeah.
That's my reading, anyways. So this is kind of taking Zartan back to an earlier telling of the character, and he's got some kind of mutancy. I could be 100% wrong. This could be someone completely different. But that we do close out on like a push-in on a shack in the swamp, and the door says Dreadnoks. So if it's
I love
Zartan,
that
if it's not Zartan, I will eat my Ozone 1991 Eco Warriors action figure.
Well, I mean, it
Can we make that
really
an
could
exclusive
be.
for the Patreon?
Oh yeah, join today for as little as
Why
$3 a month.
What's Steven eating ozone?
Which it could be that it is Zartan, and it's also, I mean, he really is going deep cuts and kind of like reaching back. I mean, as you said earlier, Stephen, Cobra Law was not picked up by anyone after the animated movie, and it could be Zartan, and it could be him kind of what's the author's name, Joshua Williamson, kind of using kind of tidbits of things and kind of looking at things from different angles. And if that is what he's doing, I mean, Moonlight kind of said this earlier, taking old concepts and revamping them is such a Jeff Johns move. Jeff Johns being the prolific guy at DC Comics who kind of reimagined the entire Green Lantern mythology,
Flash
kind
as
of
well.
reincorporating old stuff and kind of making it fresh and really expanding dramatically upon the Green Lantern mythology, adding tons to Flash. He's a huge fan of the Justice Society as well, and kind of reinvigorating that brand within DC. So if that is something he's doing, I mean, it could be very cool to see, kind of like taking old stuff and kind of looking at it in a different light, and that's kind of why for me at least, Cobra La made sense in this huge context of the Energon universe and within this issue, and the way that he's kind of establishing his version of Cobra Commander within this wider universe. It makes sense to me now, actually, that this is where he comes from, and this is kind of like where you bring in those sci-fi elements in GI Joe into the Energon universe. I think it works well. It makes a lot of sense to me. Which is why I
do want to add that I need to rescind my earlier comment and therefore your comment just now, Rob, by saying that yes, Cobra La hasn't been completely ignored, because we can all remember Tom Sholey's Koburola, sort of snake people that became a cult.
And
that
GI Joe vs. Transformers by IDW.
GI Joe vs. Transformers, the second volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, those are like it's the return to Cobra La has been very sparse. Not many people have kind of like taken Cobra La and gone, oh, this is part of my story of GI Joe. It's usually like, it's a renegade's world. No one knows who GI Joe is. Cobra's ruling the world. It's more based in realism. I think more often than not, Cobra La is ignored as kind of like a basis for where the storytelling of GI Joe can go from there. Incorporating this thing that has been established in a big way. I mean, you could also say, anything in the cartoon could be part of the lore of GI Joe. Why isn't giant tomatoes being reused in future issues of GI Joe?
Why hasn't
it? Because it would give Paul nightmares.
It will. Rob asking all the important questions, my dude.
But the thing is, it was established in the movie, and that's bigger than any individual episode of the cartoon. And it's usually the mainstays, I think, from the cartoon is often the things that happen in, say, the miniseries, like the mass device. I mean, that is often referenced again. I mean, in Duke, there we see it again in a blueprint. And I think people do take the bigger event things, the miniseries and the films, more seriously to a degree as like established things within GI Joe. And as an established thing, Cobra La has been basically ignored. As I was very happy to have it be ignored, because it felt stupid and sci-fi within my headcanon of what GI Joe is. But
well, I'm glad you're here to balance us out, Rob. You don't drink the Kool-Aid.
I haven't,
you don't expose yourself to the spores.
But
to be fair, we don't drink the Kool-Aid either, so.
No, for sure.
I do. I'm
fully on board with.
And I'll tell you why, guys. Because I have been an avid reader of GI Joe, A Real American Hero, for my entire life. Yeah, I've seen Cobra Commander reach the logical end of him being a charlatan. He's basically playing the role of the despotic, militaristic leader to the hilt. And unfortunately, you get to the point which Ara reached in 300 and now beyond, that he's a bit of a joke unto himself, that he is a buffoon, and even in this realistic Larry Hama world, like, he's just played for gags. There are other more hardcore, like, real enemies to be feared and faced, but Cobra Commander has lost all his mystery. He's lost all his danger. He is absolutely just this kind of satire, parody of like a despot. At least here, like, we've got someone dangerous, potent. He's got a whole new angle. And so the question I want to close us out on, perhaps, is if you could only pick one of the Skybound G.I. Joe or G.I. Joe adjacent titles to read, which one would it be?
I know what my answer is. I just want to quickly reiterate that when I say you and I don't drink the Kool-Aid, we've always liked Cobra La, which has always been the sort of thing that the masses don't necessarily, or the mass GI Joe fandom doesn't dig. Anyway, which one should I? Because I'm already speaking and I've got the mic. For my money right now, it's Cobra Commander.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that as well. I think it's the most
it's actually
of them.
It's not even like which one will he choose? It's more like, that's the one I'm spending money on. Like, because that's how much I've got.
I echo you guys, and this might be the unpopular choice, but yeah, absolutely.
Well,
The book that's
could be.
bringing the book that's bringing the freshest amount of intrigue, the book that has me guessing where could this go next is Cobra Commander. Duke, you can see it's by the numbers, man. We've got like a crack team being sent to capture Duke, who are eventually going to be converted into GI Joes. Like, all the pieces of this puzzle are familiar to us. This storytelling isn't... I sincerely doubt it's going to pack any surprises. Whereas Cobra Commander, I'm like, whoa,
Let's see.
anything is on the table.
But don't forget, Stephen, both of these things are written by the same guy. It's Joshua Williamson. He's writing.
And I'm
both.
so glad, because they
Yeah.
will weave together. I was just thinking, like, what a horror story if these... I mean, obviously, they're all planned. This whole Skybound enterprise, this massive relaunch, is all planned down to the minutest detail. It's not fly by the seat of your pants writing.
No,
You know,
for sure.
these various different writing and art teams are working to coalesce these things. But yeah, I'm glad they've got the same writer, because Cobra Commander and Duke should hopefully become ancillary stories for each other. Like, Cobra Commander's been sent into the world to raise an army for Cobra Law. Mars Industries, as we see in Duke, has the equipment already rolling off the production line. Mix in a bit of Cybertronian tech that Cobra Commander will bring into the picture, and you've got... Yeah, maybe that's the problem. Like, maybe Mars is having trouble with the AI of the battle android troopers. And so Cobra Commander becomes the missing link there.
But yeah,
Speculation is
that
rampant.
There's stuff that can appeal to a lot of different people. I mean, it's looking at the chat right now, a lot of people are saying CC, other people are saying Duke, and I think that's great. There's something that appeals to different people, and obviously there's also something that appeals to someone who wants to be a completionist. Hopefully, who wants to kind of like connect all these dots and own all of these series, even Void Rivals, which is the overarching thing that Robert Kirkman himself is writing to kind of like establish the larger Energon universe where everything is taking place. And I think it's definitely appealing to a lot of different people. And I think it's great that everyone has their own things that they absolutely love about what's coming out. And it's cool that, we can kind of sit around and chat about comics, like new G.I. Joe comics. I think that's really cool.
And by that token, I think, Rob, you've got 2 issues of the comics aside for me. Hopefully you guys are going to get Cobra Commander in physical as well, and keep on the side for me too. I think it's also just worth mentioning for me, and this is not like a flex or anything. This will be the first time I've bought a physical comic book in a very long time, because the last time I bought a physical comic book, they were 50 Rand. They're now like
150 bucks, basically, yeah.
So that's a long time ago. I think the last time I bought a comic book was easily like 12 years ago. 12, 13, 14.
Here we go. They got us buying comics again.
So they got me buying comics again, dude. And that's important.
I'd say comics have kept tabs with the South African Rand. I mean, $100 gets you what $50 got you the last time you bought a comic book, Paul. Let's be real.
No, money in this country right now is crap. I'm sorry. No, not at all. You can still get quite a lot for 150 Rand.
Paul,
you can get a Nando's meal for 150 Rand.
You might need to spend your money if Shane gets their wish. Major Blood number 1.
That'll be cool, by the way. No, dude, I'm sorry, but unfortunately that has changed badly for us in South Africa.
Oh well, this is all very interesting. I've enjoyed duking it out with you guys. 310 has been an absolute blast. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. I'm glad there are so many people talking about Duke, people talking about Cobra Commander, and it's cool that we're having discussions, as I just said, about comic books again. That's beautiful new stuff. But yeah,
it's
obviously
nice to be excited about a comic book.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we still cover 301 onwards and backwards and forwards from number 1, and we're talking about the cartoon. So we definitely love all forms of GI Joe, wherever it goes, wherever it comes from, whatever is happening. Cotton Eye Joe. Yeah, have a great time, guys.
Where did you go?
Thanks for joining us, and keep it the Berg.
Keep the Berg real, bro. These are the people that keep the Berg going, keeping the whole
Patreon guys. Thank you to everyone who
StreamYard
decided to give us a little bit going. to help us, keep the things, everything
Because that's not
rolling
getting
over.
cheaper either because of exchange
Oh
rate
my
stuff. So
goodness,
yeah,
this
so
is
guys,
technical
thank you
talk.
so much.
Thank
You're
you.
keeping the wheels turning here. It's great.
Absolutely.
And thanks to the, I suppose we were up to 25 people at one point. The folks who joined us
30,
live.
almost 30 actually.
Oh yeah, I saw at least
Amazing.
30. At
The
least
chats
30.
have been
I remember
thriving.
when I was 30.
Yeah, guys,
Maybe if you do watch the YouTube version back later, you should enable the live chat feature just to see what people were saying.
What
It's
were people
fascinating.
saying? Just having fun.
Good. Yeah. To everyone whose comment we highlighted, and to everyone whose comment that's scrolled by and just remained in the chats, thank you for
We
participating.
do see all of
We
it.
see it all.
We absolutely do.
These guys are showing their classified figures on screen right now. But I'm going to make them all weep by showing them a very minty Battle Android Trooper.
Yeah. I have 2 of those.
I've
Then again, you
only
have
got
6
one.
of them.
So
I have
like
6.
Steven's got 6. He should give you a few.
how do you have 6 bats? Do you even have one that you regard as your favorite?
2
This
hands.
is a Steven
2
question.
hands.
The
That's
one
the most
that-
you should ever have of a figure.
My favorite is the one with no crotch and lots of playware, because I know
Interesting.
know who it came from. It's the one that came from that Greek friend of the family, Rob.
Cool.
Ah.
We pulled it off the card, and I kept
We
that
did
one
indeed.
aside. I didn't put it back in
I
the
do
bubble
remember.
because
Yeah.
having a bat that's been roughed up makes it more inviting
Love
for
me a
play.
roughed
Because
up bat.
for a toy that should be like a disposable thing, the 1986 bat is particularly frail, so you can't use it as this like fodder to just be shot apart in your battles. You have to play with this thing very delicately. So to have a bat that you can play with not delicately, love it. So yes, that is my favorite. The one in the worst condition is my favorite, because that's the one I'm gonna play with. Anyways, I've rattled on long enough. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening in the future. Feel free to comment on this thread. What did you think of Cobra Commander issue 1? What did you think of Duke issue 1? Which of the 3 books is your Sophie's choice if you could only pick up one per month?
Welcome
Let
back,
us know
Kiwi,
in the
and
comments, please.
good night.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and yes, bats are badass. You're right.
my favorite.
And-
I don't have a favorite bat because I only have the one, but I have a favorite Viper, and that's
Ooh,
the one I
that's
got from
cool.
Bart. He's got like burn marks on him. It's like been a bit melted. And I call him Scorch, and because of that, I've got this like head cannon for this Viper that's named Scorch. And yeah, anyway, one day he
Well,
might appear in
Steve, now you
the-
can buy yourself
it.
some original
hasn't
GI
already.
Joes. Don't worry. And Super 7 hopefully
No,
will
Steve.
scratch that itch for you.
That's so sad. Steve
Yo,
Johnson.
Joe.
Get you a copy of CC. Do it.
Berg, 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 Berg. That's me, Rob. Berg.